Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're embarking on, well, a really fascinating journey. We're going into one of the most foundational, really compelling myths from Ferdowsi's epic Shahnameh, the saga of Feridoun and Zahhak.
Yeah, and this isn't just a simple story, is it?
Not at all. It's this profound exploration of good versus evil, tyranny versus freedom and destiny. Our goal for you today is to give you a clear understanding of this ancient Persian myth, really reveal its surprising layers and its powerful lessons.
Exactly. And this narrative, it's got deep roots in ancient Iranian mythology, Zoroastrian texts too. It really sets up this eternal battle. Zahhak, who you might know from older texts as Dahak, he becomes the symbol, the very symbol of oppression.
Right.
And then Feridun embodies righteousness, divine will, you could say. We'll delve into how these characters clash during the Pashtadian era, that's the mythical first dynasty of Iran, a time when the world itself was sort of being shaped by these huge cosmic forces.
Okay, so to really get this myth, we kind of have to start with Zahhak, don't we? The prince who becomes this tyrant. What was his path like? How did he end up so dark?
Well, Zahhak, he's originally a prince from the land of the Tasis, that's ancient Arabia. And he starts off ambitious,
Yeah.
but also kind of impressionable. And what's truly chilling is how he falls under the influence of Ahriman,
The devil.
the devil himself, yeah, who first appears to him disguised, as this charismatic figure. And this deceptive interaction, it leads Zahhak to do something just unspeakable.
Which is?
So he murders his own father, Murdas, who was actually a good king, a benevolent king. And then Zahhak just seizes his throne.
Wow. So a calculated, almost like an insidious seduction into evil right from the get-go. What happens next? Does Ahriman just disappear?
No, not at all. Right after this horrible act, Ahriman comes back.
Yeah.
But this time he's posing as a chef in
Oh.
Zahhak's court. A chef, yeah. He prepares these exquisite dishes, gains Zahhak's complete trust. And then, in this really twisted act of gratitude, Ahriman asks if he could just kiss Zahhak's shoulders.
That's odd. Why the shoulders?
Well, the moment Zahhak consents, thinking it's just a strange request maybe, Ahriman vanishes.
Hmm.
And right from those spots he kissed,
Oh, no.
two black venomous serpents sprout. They cause Zahhak just unbearable pain, and they regenerate whenever they're cut off.
That's horrific. I mean, it makes me wonder the sheer terror of these serpents. What does that symbolize? It's got to be more than just physical pain, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's more than just a curse. It's like a physical manifestation of his internal corruption, the evil that's now completely consumed him. And the horror, it just deepens. Because Ahriman shows up again, this time disguised as a physician.
Of course he does.
And he tells Zahhak that the only way to appease these serpents
Yeah,
is to feed them human brains.
human brains.
Yes. So Zahhak, completely ensnared by now, totally trapped by Ahriman's deception, he starts ordering the daily sacrifice of two young men. And what Zahhak's story really shows, I think, is how tyranny often starts not just with brute force, but with this seduction of power, an initial small betrayal.
Like killing his father.
Exactly. That act creates this void, this emptiness that a malevolent force like Ahriman just rushes in to fill, and it leads to this escalating cycle where the oppressor, Zahhak, becomes almost as much a victim of his own evil as the people he's oppressing.
So while Iran is descending into this absolute nightmare under Zahhak, there's a glimmer of hope emerging somewhere else. Tell us about Fereydun.
Yes, Feridun. He's a child of the revered Pashtadian lineage, so descended from those earliest mythical kings. He's born in this lush, secluded meadow, carefully hidden away from Zahhak's reach. His mother, Farang, who's depicted as this wise, courageous woman, she knew from ancient prophecies that her son was the one, destined to overthrow Zahhak.
She knew.
She knew. And to protect him, she sends him off to Mount Elborz, entrusting him to the care of Barmayan.
Barmayan. That's the sacred mythical cow, right?
That's the one. Barmayan nurtures Fereydun with her milk, and he grows up strong, wise, virtuous, shaped by nature itself.
It sounds almost like a deliberate counter-narrative to Zahhak's dark origins, doesn't it? Nurtured by nature, not corrupted by deceit.
Precisely.
But I imagine Zahhak couldn't be kept in the dark forever about this prophecy.
You're right. Zahhak, he hears about the prophecy, knows there's a threat out there. He sends his agents to find Fereydun. They raid Farang's home, but they don't find the boy. He's safe on the mountain. But in their cruelty, they slaughter Barmayan.
Oh, the cow that raised him.
Yes. And that act, as tragic as it is, it fuels Fereydun's resolve. It really solidifies his vow to avenge Barmian and liberate Iran from Zahhak's whole reign of terror. It's a real turning point. His destiny goes from just being a prophecy to being his own personal mission.
Right, so he's no longer just this prophesied hero waiting in the wings. He's a man driven by a deeply personal loss. And now he's a young adult. He comes down from Mount Alborz, ready to rally the people. And this is where he meets a really remarkable figure, Kaveh the blacksmith.
Kaveh, yes, he is absolutely central to the spark of rebellion. He's just this brave, ordinary man, but deeply oppressed. Two of his own sons had already been sacrificed to Zahhak's serpents.
Why?
Yeah. So Kaveh, having just reached his breaking point, he does something amazing. He sparks a rebellion by raising his leather blacksmith's apron on a spear, and that becomes the Kavian banner.
Just his work apron.
Just his apron. This incredibly simple act transforms into this powerful symbol of resistance. It inspires all the oppressed people to finally join the uprising, with Feridoun providing the leadership and Kaveh embodying that raw courage. It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What is it that empowers ordinary people to rise up against what seems like, insurmountable tyranny?
That's a powerful point. It wasn't just abstract courage, like you said. It was this deeply personal grievance that just resonated so widely. What does that tell us about maybe the nature of true rebellion? When a personal symbol like a blacksmith's apron becomes the rallying cry.
I think it tells us that oppression, especially when it becomes so personal, so systematic, it eventually creates its own counterforce. The Kavian banner wasn't some fancy royal standard. It was a common man's tool, a symbol of labor, of suffering.
And that's why it connected.
Exactly. That's why it resonated so deeply with the common folk. It was theirs.
So, with that banner raised, Fereydun is now leading this army, common folk, warriors, all united. He marches towards Zahhak's palace, which the Shahnameh mythically places in Jerusalem, interestingly.
Yes, the geography is definitely mythical.
And along the way, he encounters Arnavaz and Shahnaz.
Right, two beautiful sisters who were held captive by Zahhak. They join Feridoun, and they recount all of Zahhak's atrocities, which just further strengthens his resolve. Their stories are crucial.
Why crucial?
Because they humanize the scale of Zahhak's evil. It wasn't just about sacrificing young men in the abstract. It was about personal degradation, captivity, suffering. Their testimony really solidifies the righteousness of Feridun's cause.
Got it. Okay, so the banner is raised, the people are rallied, the personal stories are fueling the fire. The long-awaited confrontation with Zahhak is finally happening. Tell us about this epic clash.
Right, so Feridun is armed with his very distinctive weapon, this ox-headed mace.
Made from Marmion's hide.
Precisely. Crafted from Barmion's hide, making it a symbol of both his vengeance for her death and his nurturing past. It's quite powerful symbolism. He storms Zahhak's palace. The tyrant king confronts him with a huge army, but Feridun, fueled by, courage and divine strength, he defeats Zahhak in this monumental clash. But what's really fascinating here is what happens next. He doesn't kill him.
He doesn't, after everything.
No. Following a direct command from Ahura Mazda, the supreme good deity in Zoroastrianism, Feridun binds Zahhak in heavy chains, and he imprisons him deep within Mount Damavand.
Mount Damavand, the volcano near Tehran.
The very same, where Zahhak is destined, according to the myth, to remain captive for eternity.
That decision to imprison, not kill, that's incredibly insightful, isn't it? It's not just victory, it's a very specific kind of justice. Was there any, historical or mythical precedent for that kind of restraint? Especially when you think popular sentiment might demand, total annihilation. Did Feridun face any backlash for that choice?
That's a great question. This choice, it really offers a unique insight into the concept of divine justice within this specific mythology. It suggests that maybe certain evils aren't meant to be simply annihilated, but eternally contained. It symbolizes a sort of perpetual vigilance that's required to keep darkness at bay, rather than just a one-time triumph.
So evil isn't destroyed, just locked away.
Kind of. It implies that true victory isn't only about defeating evil, but maybe about understanding its nature and ensuring it can never fully reemerge.
Yeah.
And to your point about backlash, no, the text doesn't suggest any. It's presented as a divinely sanctioned act, a higher form of justice, not just simple revenge.
A powerful lesson for any era, then. Really makes you think. So after vanquishing Zahhak, Feridun ascends the throne of Iran. Justice is restored, prosperity returns. He marries the sisters he rescued, Arnavaz and Shahnaz.
Right. And they have 3 sons, Salm, Tur, and Iraj.
And it's here, right after this huge victory for good, that we kind of see the seeds of future challenges being sown.
Indeed. Feridun, in his wisdom, or what he thought was wisdom perhaps, he divides the known world among his 3 sons. He grants Rome, or the West, to Salm, Turan the lands to the east and north to Tur, and Iran the heartland to his youngest and favorite son, Irash.
Okay, seems fair on the surface.
On the surface, yes. But this division, despite its probably noble intent, tragically sows the seeds of future conflict. Jealousy flares up between the brothers, and it ultimately leads to Iraj's murder by his own brothers, Salm and Tur. And that kicks off the long, devastating wars between Iran and Turan that dominate so much of the rest of the Shahnameh.
Wow. It seems almost unbearably ironic, doesn't it? Feridoun's wise division, meant to bring peace and order after all that darkness, instead leads directly to such profound tragedy. What does that tell us about, well, the nature of power, succession, maybe even good intentions in these ancient stories?
I think it highlights a really crucial point. Even the triumph of good, the establishment of justice, it still contains the inherent complexities of human nature, ambition, jealousy, the challenges of leadership. Ferdinand sought to create a just order, sure, but the individual flaws, the ambitions and jealousies of his sons, they couldn't be contained by that structure. It suggests that while external evil, like Zahhak, can be overthrown and contained,
The internal struggles continue.
exactly, the internal struggles of humanity often persist, creating new cycles of conflict.
So this deep dive into Fereydun and Zahhak, it really showcases the eternal triumph of light over darkness, the restoration of justice in Iran. And the Kavian banner, wow, born from Kava's courage, that endures as such a powerful symbol of resistance and freedom, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
But the story also, well, subtly hints at the fragility of that unity and the complex, cyclical nature of conflict, even right after a great victory.
It really reminds us that these ancient narratives aren't just dusty old tales. They're kind of like blueprints for understanding human nature, power, justice. They still resonate. What insights did you gain from Feridoun's choice? That choice to contain Zahhak rather than destroy him? It's something to think about. Consider how these enduring themes, tyranny, prophecy, divine will, human rebellion, how they continue to echo in stories and, frankly, in real-world struggles across cultures today. It reminds us maybe that the quest for justice, it's often a continuous journey, not some final destination.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the legendary tale of Feridoun and Zahhak. We certainly hope you found as many compelling insights as we did.